This is the last video for chapter 8. In this video, I'm simply going to go over some definitions. Social contract theory, libertarianism, liberalism. A philosopher called Thomas Hobbes says, human beings by nature we are selfish. We simply want things that benefit us. In a state of nature, that is a hypothetical scenario in which the government does not exist. If there was no government, life would be nasty, short, brutish. Most people would die young. But because we are selfish, we get together and create society for the sake of selfishness. If there's no government, a wise person would try your best to make contract with people. I don't touch your stuff, you don't touch my stuff. But if I make a contract with you, you're the bigger man, or I'm the bigger man, and there's no third party to enforce the contract, why should I respect the contract? I have the right to defend myself all the time. You have the right to defend yourself all the time. If the government doesn't exist, there wouldn't be any farming, no education, civilization, none of that. Because if I build a farm, you could simply go over and destroy it and take everything for yourself. So since we sign a contract, there has to be a third party to enforce it. That's where the government comes along. I have the right to defend myself, you have the right to defend yourself. So if you hurt me, I transfer my power to hurt you back to the government. If I do something against you, instead of you hurting me, you transfer your power to hurt me back to the government. So when everybody transfer the powers to this third party called the government, that's when the social contract is born. Now this government, which is a monster, necessary, promises to create laws, pass laws, and punish everybody that break those laws. So this is the idea of a social contract. That is, the government is based on the consent of the people. Again, I have a natural right to defend myself, including killing you if you're going to kill me. You have a right to defend yourself as well, including killing me if you have to. When I hurt you, when you hurt me, instead of us taking revenge, because if I take revenge and hurt you, you could come back and hurt me too. Then I can go back and hurt you too. Then you could come back and hurt me again and again. So there will be constant retaliation. There can't be peace. So we transfer this power to the government. So the government has the power not to hurt the person that hurt me. Western governments are mostly based on this idea, social contract theory. That is, the government derives its power from the people. For Thomas Hobbes, though, revolution was never justified. The citizens of this state could never uh, justify a revolution. This is where a different guy called John Locke came along. So the main difference is this. For John Locke, yes, there's a social contract based on the will of the people, the consent of the people. But the main difference is this: revolution is justified. The government exists to protect the rights of the people or to guarantee the free exercise of rights, the right to liberty, peace, happiness, property, etc. So government exists to protect the rights or to create a free space so people could exercise the rights. When the government doesn't do so, if the government begins to take away the rights of the people, then the people have an obligation to fight back, overthrow the government, replace it with a new government which will honor and respect the rights of the people. This sounds exactly like the Declaration of Independence. In fact, the United States is actually an experience based on the philosophy of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and um, Rousseau. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, in which he said, all men are made equal. They're given certain rights by the Creator God that can't be taken away by the government. The government exists to protect the free exercise of those rights. This is exactly the philosophy of John Locke. The founding fathers, they studied Greek philosophy, they studied the Enlightenment, they know that. So they build this country on this idea. The government is based on the consent of the people, the will of the people. When they done with their job, the people have the right to vote, replace them, or use force to replace them. This is what exactly the founding fathers did back then, because King George III was not respecting the rights of the colonies, so they fought back and built this country. So in case you think, in case maybe some of you think all philosophy is useless, not quite true, not quite true. The United States is based on the philosophy of John Locke, Rousseau, and Thomas Hobbes. Okay, so again, for Thomas Hobbes, revolution is never justified. But for John Locke, when the government fails to do its job to protect the rights of the people, then we have the right to fight back. So that's why citizens of the United States, that's one reason we are allowed to carry guns. Two, so the states can defend themselves against the government if it becomes necessary. So this is one of the advantages that democracy has over the different forms of government. If we recall, we discussed monarchy, aristocracy, meritocracy, um, timocracy, and plutocracy. Democracy is better because democracy is the only form of government that gives the people a voice. You can influence things. Democracy is also better because of delegation of power. One man doesn't have absolute power. Imagine if Trump was a king, Obama or Bush was a king. That's too much power for one person um, to have. Back then, um, if I'm a king, let's say I die, I have a 7-year-old boy, he becomes king. The people had nothing to say in the process. See, but in a democracy, you have a voice because you can vote. Again, you could vote for somebody else if you don't like this current administration. Libertarianism, libertarianism says the function of government is minimal and small. The government should be really, really, really small. It should be mainly administrative. The government should just leave people alone to just do whatever the hell that they want. The government should not interfere in the marketplace. Let the market take care of itself. So these people tend to be against big government because big government means the government has too much power. The government should be small to simply regulate a few things. So one theory that falls under this idea is what's called minimal state. Minimal state, as the word says, the role of this state should be small, minimal, prevent the use of force, and punish the people who use force. That is, the government not only should be small, the government shouldn't engage in taxation, for example. That's part-time slavery, men, they think. Not only that, we shouldn't have public funded businesses or publicly funded institutions like law enforcement. Everything should be private. The same way we pay for, um, let's say, FPL. If you don't pay, you don't have any electricity. The same way you pay for Comcast, if you don't pay, you have no cable. Likewise, instead of having police departments in the country, we should replace them with private security companies, and you pay those companies to protect you. Instead of having national public fire services, we should replace them with private businesses. So if your house is burning, there's a company you pay, you call them to help you out. But there shouldn't be a system where you call 911 if you need help. So again, the government should simply be small, give people maximum freedom to pursue their lives. So libertarianism, the function of government should be small, minimal, and administrative. Liberalism is the view that the state should protect personal freedoms. The state should protect personal freedoms. Um, and the state pretty much should stay away. There's the public, there's the private. The public sphere of life, that's for the government. But what you do privately with your life, as long as you're not interfering with somebody else, this is your life. Let's say you work two jobs and Friday night you just want to stay home and chill and smoke some marijuana. That's a business. The government shouldn't tell you no, don't do it. If you want to hire some prostitutes on a Friday night, have some fun with them, or let them have some fun with you, that's your business. If you want to ride your motorcycle with no helmet, even though you may fall and break your head, that's your business. Except if you break your head because you're trying to be cool, you can't expect tax money of other people to be used in order to help you. So pretty much, you should be free to do whatever the hell you want. The government is not your father, it's not your daddy. They shouldn't be in your business all the time. If you want to kill yourself, that's your business. If you want to hurt yourself, cut a finger or two, that's your business. The only reason for which the government has the right to interfere in your life is to protect somebody else. If you're going to hurt somebody else, they have to stop you. But if you're going to hurt yourself, you should be free to do that. So again, the government is not your daddy, your father. They shouldn't be interfering in your life all the time. Whatever you want to do, you should be able to do it. And again, they should tell you no, even if you want to kill yourself, that's your business. They can only interfere in your life only to prevent you from hurting someone else. So this is liberalism. Classical liberalism says the state should protect personal freedoms, but also allow people the free space to pursue social, economic well-being in a free market. So a person who championed this is a man called John Rawls. Let's imagine all of us, we're going to build a new society, and we need principles of justice. The laws, the principles of justice we choose, John Rawls says, we should choose them under a veil of ignorance. That is, let's pretend we don't know who we are. When we're passing law for a society, for a country, let's pretend we don't know what we are. If we are male or female, black, white, Caucasian, gay, straight, let's pretend you don't know anything about your physical self and your psychological self, so we could avoid bias. Because if when we're passing laws, I remember that I'm a black man, I may prefer laws that favor black people. If I remember that I'm gay, I may prefer laws that favor gay people. If I remember I'm a girl, I may prefer laws that favor women. So let's pretend you don't remember anything about yourself, physically, psychologically, mentally. So we could choose laws that are fair and not biased. He said if we do so, we're going to choose two principles of justice. The first is principle of equality. That is, give equal maximum equality to everyone and everything. In politics, in religion, education, and money, equality for everyone. But equality is not always a good thing. There's a second principle that we should choose. We call it the difference principle. It says wealth and power should be distributed equally, except where inequalities would work to the advantage of everyone. That is, we should aim for equality, but equality is not always a good thing. Sometimes inequality may benefit everyone, therefore we should move from equality to inequality. For example, imagine a society that has only three people. Each one of them has $500, 500 bucks. That's equality. Imagine another society of three people. One has $600, one has $700, and one has $1,000. So in the society, there's no equality, but everybody has more money. So instead of having 500 bucks, 500 bucks, 500 bucks for each person, it's better to have a person with 600, 700, and $900. So again, sometimes inequality can benefit everyone. It's better to move from equality to inequality. Worse, it's almost impossible to have a society that has full equality because people make different choices. Let's say I decide to give each one of you $10,000. Each one of you $10,000. Then a year later, I come back to see what you do with the money. Some of you would have more money. Some of you would be broke. Some of you would invest the money. Some investment would work, some would not work. And some of you would buy in your house, in a car. So since people make different choices, also people love different things, people have different passions, people have different background, it's really, really hard to have a society in which everybody financially is equal, unless you do this through force, by coercion. For example, let's say I'm a nurse. I make $50,000 every year. Let's say you become a basketball player and you're really, really, really good. Notice, no matter how much I work, how hard I work as a nurse, I will never make more money than you because you're a basketball player. For 1 year, in 1 year, you could make $10 million. You could make $25 million. But me, the nurse, I'm going to make $50,000 a year. Then the only way then for you to be equal to me financially would be whenever I make 50,000 and whenever the basketball player makes 10 million, they would have to tax him over $9 million to bring him back to the level of $50,000. You see. Imagine I make 50,000, you make 10 million a year. Since we want equality, then they would have to take away over $9 million of your money to bring you back to the level of 50,000. This is why many people complain socialism will make people lazy. They will not try their best. Because why would I go ahead and play basketball at my best if I know they're going to take all the money away to bring me back to the level of $50,000? So this is why, again, people say socialism can work, but only through coercion, that is by force or by taxation. They're going to take 9 million bucks away from you in order for everybody to be equal. So Equality is a nice thing, but you can't really have equality of outcomes. As long as people are free to make choices, they make different choices based on their wisdom, based on their education, based on their talents, on their passion, on their background. It's really, really, really hard to have them make the exact same choices. Also, people love different things. Again, basketball players will always make more money than nurses. There's no way around that. So again, for you to have equality, you would have to tax those players a lot of money so they could make the exact same amount of money as nurses. Notice from their perspective, they wouldn't find this fair, right? So to conclude, social contract theory, the government is based on the consent of the people. Revolution is justified according to Locke, but not justified according to Thomas Hobbes. So if the government doesn't do its job, which is to protect the free exercise of rights, the people have an obligation to fight back, overthrow the government, replace it with a government which will honor and respect the rights of the people. People have a natural right to defend themselves, but they transfer this power to the government. So whatever the government decides, that's what we call justice. Libertarianism says the government should be small and minimal administrative. They should leave the market alone. The market will take care of itself. Except there are certain issues with that. Because if you don't regulate the market, 2008, the market crash, it will happen again because people will make bad choices. So if you push them far, again, the government again is not your daddy. Liberalism, there's the private, there's the public. The public realm, that's for the government. But you, the person, your house is your castle, you, the king there. Whatever you do, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, that's your choice. The government's not your daddy, your father. They shouldn't be all in your business all the time. Classical liberalism, not only the state should protect personal freedoms, but they should create a free space where people pursue social, economic well-being. And we should choose principles of justice behind a veil of ignorance. That let's pretend as much as we can we don't know what we are, who we are, so we could choose the principles in a way that's fair. We will start with equality for everyone and everything, but equality is not always a good thing. Equality can prevent some people from becoming their best. Sometimes, if it benefits everyone, it is better to move from equality to inequality. John Walls. Thank you for watching.